15 alcohol license consumption on premises of beer, wine, liquor for beer, wine, and liquor for Justin Wynn, DBA Mama's Country Showcase, 2700 North Expressway, beer, wine, and liquor, as motioned by myself and seconded by Commissioner Johnson. All in favor of said motion and second, please indicate said favor. All against? 3-1. Nays carried. Do we have another motion?
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider at our next meeting, the approval, excuse me. I would like to make a motion that we consider at our next meeting what adjudicative action we're going to take regarding this, Mr. Wynn's license related to this criminal violation.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion, comments?
Just 1 second, let's kind of get, okay. The motion that you voted down was, the motion was not to renew the license, and that was defeated, so that's scratched. The action that you took on December 1 was that you denied him a license for 2015. That is unaffected by your vote today. That was what you passed back then. So as of right now, he's not going to have a license for 2015. Now we can, if you leave it like that, his license will expire on December 31 if you've not given him a renewal for 2015. And that may be what you want to do. But if you, Ms. Gwynn, exactly what is it that you would want them to reconsider in January?
Well, based on our ordinance, I would like for us, at least for us to follow what our ordinance said as a first offense in terms of what the fine is or whatever that is. And we haven't even had the opportunity to discuss or even be told that. That's what there should be a fine imposed. They have the option to do that. Secondly, as a board, we have multiple options, I would think. I know what the ordinance says, in terms of what his license, where we're going to go with his license. I think it says only in the second offense that you can take
$1,000 in 90 days, I think. And all that's fine. I'm simply saying, as it presently exists with the votes on the floor, there's, quote, no action taken, but his license is going to expire at midnight, December 31, right?
That's right.
So, and if that's your desire, so be it. But I just want everybody to be aware of exactly what was going to happen if you let it lay there.
To the next board meeting, because that will be after. You want to stay with your current motion, or would you like to reconsider?
I'll rescind my motion for right now. I would like to know what the wishes of the rest of the board is.
Well, I'm gonna voice my opinion. I'm not, I've listened to the Sheriff's Department, I've listened to Chad. I think everybody has done the job as well as was brought to them. I think there should have been things brought before Chad and them, before the date in November. I think the state should have did something. And they should act before anybody else acted, in my opinion, because it's their license, their machines, and their rules. I may be wrong. It's just my opinion of it, which really may not mean a lot. But I think that he should have had the $1,000 fine, and it should have been done in September when the thing came down. Where the communication lapse, really doesn't make any difference now. what I want is better communication between the state, the sheriff's department, and the county. I think it's like 3 people involved here, it's just not the county. And there's a lot of people involved in this. The sheriff's acting on the rules of the state. So why hadn't the state done something? You know, that's my consideration. I'm not happy with the way things have come out, and for me to sit here and deny and listen to what the other people have said, how he's running the business now, how much the business has changed. And I do know a lot of people that go out on the town at night, and they have found out that, you know, it is a place that they don't mind going now. I mean, he's got sheriff protection on the outside out there. I don't know how many people he's got security on the inside. But you got 350 people, you got at least these, I was gonna say 5 or 6, so, I mean, you're pretty well covering that right there. I personally would like to see his license reissued. And that's my thoughts. And it's because of all the stuff that has got to this point. It hadn't been done to this point. That's the reason. That's all.
Gwen, do you have anything else? Weird?
Yeah, I just kind of agree with Bart. I think it's going to be tough for us to do that at this point, based on the information we've been given today. The fact that there was no penalties actually taking place. I know I understand the time frame here, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's kind of hard to go back now and take his license away. So, that's fine.
All right, with that, my only comment is the board can only react to the information we have on hand at the time we make a decision. With the conviction in July, the arrest in July, the conviction plea bargain in September, the submission of the state license in November 26th, and approval in early December, which I believe by those dates cited a minute ago were after our last board meeting. But when you sit down and look at it, the board can only react to the information we have at hand. And with that, I will cease my comments. Did you rescind your motion, Ms. Quinn?
I did, but I want to ask Mr. Fortune a question.
Okay.
Mr. Fortune, in a perfect world, had we been notified on September whatever of the, whatever the conviction date was, and we had at that time decided to invoke emergency suspension and subsequent fine,
I don't think you could have invoked an emergency suspension on this first offense. We're talking about multiple offenses, and I think that what you would have done is you would have to have sent him a letter that basically said, you pled guilty to gambling prohibition. Under our ordinance, we're going to fine you $1,000. If you object to that, you can have a hearing. We'll have a hearing first, and you'll see what we're going to do, or just mail the money in and keep your hands clean. That's what you could have done. You can't fine somebody or take their license or suspend it without giving them the opportunity for due process, a hearing. It may be that the situation where, let's assume, they sold something to an underage individual, there's no question about it. It might be that they would make a business decision to simply send you $1,000 and go on about their business because, they knew they were guilty and they were going to be found guilty. Why go through the hearing? But you would have the option at that point to either do something or not. Had you done it. And it's been kind of our policy that when these people are, when there is a violation, if at all possible, we like to wait until the final determination of the criminal case. We don't wind up with an inconsistent result where we might find that he was guilty of selling to an underage person. And lo and behold, he goes to a jury trial and they find him not guilty, but we shut him down for 90 days and took $1,000. He is acquitted in a criminal trial. So what did you find me for? The jury said I didn't do it. So rock and a hard place situation, is why we generally wait for the final determination as to the criminal case.
Thank you, that's what I need to know.
And in September, those charges were brought against him.
They actually brought July 13, I think.
But he went to court
He actually pled on October 1.
October 1. So in October.
Yeah, in October 1, we had a guilty plea. But Chad's office apparently didn't know about it until the 22nd of November, or whatever that Friday was.
Before you step away, question. Summary of what we, basically, in December 1st, we denied his alcohol license for 2015.
Right. You
So
did
that
not
means that
renew.
at midnight, December 31st, his alcohol license ceases.
Correct. As in your present posture, that is correct.
That means no sale or consumption after 12 p.m. midnight on the 31st.
That's exactly what that means.
All right. At that point in time, where does that leave the board legally?
Well,
To wait until the next board meeting to make a decision?
what are your thoughts on it, Mr. Johnson? You're the one that's going to sue us. What do you think?
You can't do that. The application was within the time constraints. It was filed within the proper time that's required under the ordinance. So he has a proper application. It meets everything according to Mr. Jacobs. I think if I were a commissioner, I think I would say, we're going to fine him $1,000 under the 2014 license. And he's got to pay that according to the provisions in the ordinance before December 31. So he's got to pay it this week, in other words. And once he pays that, then it's going, the 2015 is going to be issued. So they will issue it upon payment of the fine. That's the way it needs to be done, because that's what your ordinance says. Your ordinance says it shall be fined $1,000. I don't think he got any discretion. Shall be. And he has to have his one issued. So once he pays the $1,000, the 2015 license is issued. So I go back, if I was a commissioner, I'd make a motion to say we're going to fine him $1,000 on the 2014 license. We're going to renew his 2015 license upon the payment of the fine. That's what I think needs to be done. Legally, you're going to cause the county more damages if there's a license that's been filed at the proper time and it hasn't been ruled upon, and he could have sold alcohol on for the two semifinal games, watching football games on January 1. He can't sell any beer over there. There might be a bunch of people who want to watch the ball games. So I think you're going to set yourself up for damages if he's followed the rules within the proper time and there wasn't a ruling by you. So I think you've got to go back now and say we either deny his license or we make a motion to approve his new license based upon him payment of a $1,000 fine, which has to be imposed.
Would he agree to waive his rights to a hearing on a $1,000 fine? Does he have a right to an appeal?
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is that
Yeah, he says as long as he can pay it, he can be open New Year's Eve, and he wants to be open January 1 for the football game. So, absolutely, he'll pay it today.
in answer to your question, there would be the potential if you did nothing that he could claim that he had a valid application, that there was no good reason for you to not have granted. He does have a property right because he already has a license. This is not one where he's starting from scratch. Assuming if you wanted to dispose of it today, you could vote to fine him $1,000, like Mr. Johnson said, and upon payment of that fine, not reissue, but issue a license for 2015. And you're stating on the record you would waive a right to appeal the
Absolutely, he's still under oath.
$1,000.
Still under oath, absolutely.
Because he has appeal right. When we say we're going to fine him $1,000, and say, wait a minute, I want a hearing, this isn't right. But he's waiving that right. So
Mr. Fortune, how do we address the action that the board has already approved, which was the denial? Does that have to be readdressed?
Well, the purpose of the hearing that we had was to hear additional evidence in order to come back on the appeal process to determine whether we had all the information or not at that point in time.
Well,
Am I correct?
what I think what you would need to do is you need to, number one, you need a motion to reconsider your action on December the 1st of denial of the license.
I think they've done that.
I'm not exactly sure what his motion was.
We just closed the hearing, that's the only motion we had.
Yeah, okay. So number one, I think we would need to have a motion to reconsider our action denying the license on December 1. Assuming that passes, then there would need to be a motion that he be fined $1,000, and upon payment of the fine, that he be given a license for 2015. That would be the procedural way I think you would need to proceed.
So first, we need to approve the license, and then
Well,
Yes,
First,
fine, pending.
you would need to reconsider your action, vote to reconsider your action. If that passes, then the question will be back on the floor, do we renew the 2015 license, yes or no?
Okay. Okay. I make a motion that we reconsider the denial of Justin Nguyen, DBA Mama's Country Showcase, 2700 North Expressway Beer, Wine, and Liquor.
That was taken on December.
That was taken on
1st.
December 1st.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. A motion by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Commissioner Miller. All in favor of said motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate your indication by raising your right hand for approval. Unanimous. Second, is there another motion or comment?
I'd like to make a motion that we fine Mama's Country Showcase Justin Nguyen $1,000 for illegal gambling under state rules and regulations, and that we go ahead and reissue his license for 2015 upon receiving the $1,000 fine
And no appeal.
and no appeal.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Miller to approve a $1,000 fine and to provide a 2015 alcohol license, consumption on premises, beer, wine, and liquor for Justin Nguyen, DBA Mama's Country Showcase, with no appeal for the $1,000 fine. We have a second by Commissioner Johnson, correct? Okay. Any discussion? Ms. Nguyen?
I really don't want to do this. I really don't. But I think rather than spend taxpayer money to have a lawsuit that, even to us, the evidence is there that we probably wouldn't win. We may have a chance, but I don't think that we would. I just want to say that I think that Mr. Fortune presented the best case that he could with what we had to do. We just need to do a better job with our planning and development and with our administration to make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. That's all I have to say.
Right. Can I say something?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I don't think it's all counties. I think this thing starts with the state. It wiggles down, all of it's come down. I'm not blaming Chad, I'm not blaming the sheriff's department. This thing started at the state knew about it before anybody else did. So, I'm not gonna lay blame. They should have made a step in this movement way before the county and stuff did, because they knew about the machines. They the ones that set the rules and regulations for what you can do with it. So to me, I think it goes back farther than, but we need to work better with communication between the sheriff department and the county. We can handle that. The state needs to be the one that gets off their panties and pass this information down to me.
Anything else?
That's it. I'm through.
Sheriff Beamer's in the back of the room, so I'd like to ask Sheriff Beamer as a constitutional officer from this board, as of constitutional officers, that we work together on any alcohol consumption or selling premises, that if anything, any criminal violations and convictions in the future are done until when the convictions are adjudicated in the future, that the county be made aware of that until we can get formal protocols in place to cover that. Okay. So you got that, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, sir.
With that, we'll call for the question. All in favor of stated motion and second, please indicate your favor by raising your right hand. 3. Against? Motion carries. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that ends the item on, that ends the discussion on item 2. Before we go to item 3, we're going to take a 10-minute